We affirm the resolution because state protection and promotion of cultural expressions is the best available mechanism to ensure the diversity of culture worldwide. In order to make this case, I will first address some affirmative arguments that I believe were not adequately responded to by the negative, and then turn to their points. As Emily explained in her speech, culture is not able to be evaluated by the market alone, because the social, historical, or aesthetic values of any given cultural product do not have a price. The negative attempts to make their case in favor of a largely unfettered free market approach, but leaves unanswered the question of how it is that the market supports a diverse range of cultural expressions. We suggest that the market fails to value minority culture expressions. The invisible hand is ill-guided to the goal of cultural diversity. Left to its own devices, the market will produce a homogenized, profit-driven monoculture. Fortunately, institutions like UNESCO and the Convention on Cultural Diversity were designed to address these market failures. Cultural promotion, as envisioned in the UNESCO Convention, is a critical means to ensure cultural diversity by providing tools like infrastructure and technical knowledge to cultural innovators. In this way, voting affirmative is the only hope for those who lack both political and economic power to gain access to the means of sustainable development. Additionally, the negative has failed to address a crucial argument raised by Emily. The Convention, by codifying the value of culture, creates a historic and important right, the right to cultural diversity. Consider the testimony of Christophe Graber, a member of the law faculty of the University of Lucerne. The major achievement of the Convention is the filling of a lacuna in public international law regarding cultural values. This lacuna is particularly dangerous because of the imminent risk of disputes arising between trade and culture, aggravated by the constant pressure of economic liberalization. By ratifying this convention, the signatories could demonstrate their conviction that the protection of cultural diversity must be placed in the hierarchy of international law. It is this right that is crucial to have any hope of preventing cultural genocide. The market certainly cannot create rights, let alone this valuable right to cultural diversity. Only affirming the role of the states and international institutions can solve. Now, the negative makes two claims to refute Emily's first affirmative speech. We believe that both points have significant flaws. Initially, they make a broad argument against what they have described as cultural policing. First, their use of the phrase cultural policing is misguided. Protecting and promoting are not the same as policing. In fact, the resolution in this debate and the UNESCO Convention on which it is based legitimizes state intervention in service of expanding the diversity of cultural expression. The negative is, in effect, arguing against a resolution other than the one at issue in this debate. Second, there is an inherent tension in the warrants the negative advances. They begin by saying that a majoritarian problem exists in democratic regimes, in such that they have the ability to exclude minorities from culture, but the negative immediately turns to claim that the market is more democratic. Regardless of one's view of the dangers of majority rule, it is certainly the case that even minimal regulations of these challenges through a state apparatus are more likely to protect minority expression than would an unfettered market. Third, the negative invokes the example of the Maasai people of Kenya, but the experience of the Maasai decisively supports an affirmative case. This past October, Stephen Ferris of Bloomberg Businessweek reported how the same free market valorized by the negative has done little other than exploit the Maasai people. 6 companies have each made more than $100 million in annual sales during the last decade using the Maasai name. Land Rover sold limited edition versions of its Freelander called Maasai. Louis Vuitton's collection included scarves and shirts inspired by the Maasai Shuka. Bedding by Calvin Klein, shirts and trousers by Ralph Lauren, and cushions by Diane von Furstenberg have all been sold using the tribe's name. Most of the value of the Maasai brand is not in the handicrafts the tribe produces. It's in the cultural value of an iconic brand. In contrast to the Maasai experience, with an unregulated market, empirical evidence demonstrates that UNESCO and governmental interventions have been instrumental in protecting and promoting Maasai culture. This past year, UNESCO reported to the UN Indigenous Issues Forum that UNESCO's office in Dar es Salaam, together with a local NGO and the Center for Heritage Development in Africa, has developed a project of a community arts center. The Maasai Pastoralists, a village close to the Serengeti National Park, will be supported to collect, display, interpret, and promote Maasai culture and heritage to the local, regional, and national population. In the case of the Maasai and many other cultural minorities, states are poised to take advantage of the UNESCO Convention by creating cultural economies that preserve and leverage their unique cultural contributions. The negative has nothing to offer these cultures because the free market has already discarded them. Even if the negative were right about the risks of cultural policing, empirical evidence definitely proves that diversity is more likely in the world of the affirmative. The negative's second primary argument warrants that so-called cultural protectionism is a likely effective state protection and promotion of cultural diversity. However, 148 countries have already roundly rejected this claim by signing on to the UNESCO Convention. Emily's first affirmative speech answered this claim, citing experts who refuted the notion that the convention could be used for protectionist purposes. In contrast, the negative has offered little in the way of evidence of the likelihood of protectionism. More importantly, the negative has not addressed the important point that the continued stubborn refusal of the United States to even acknowledge the value of cultural promotion is more likely than not to backfire. Contrary to the negative's claims, protectionism and trade disputes are the ultimate consequence of continuing down our current path, and the affirmative is the best way to avert them. In conclusion, we believe that an affirmative ballot is warranted because of the importance of culture in a sustainable development and in creating the right to cultural diversity, which is far more important than the marginal, self-interested concerns of American media moguls.